Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 500 of the DrunkNerds podcast. As always, I'm Tyler, and joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, joining me for the 500th time, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
My God, dude, this is crazy. We are at episode 500 of Jesus Christ, man, like 9 years or so of all this content and
Yep.
stuff. We're getting to 500. We're having a whole, we're just having a fun ass time just trying to go forth and discuss things before we went on the air here for the topics we had to go forth and cover tonight. But yeah, man, it's feeling pretty good. Honestly, it's feeling pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I just started my vacation. I'm not gonna.
Dig.
I'm pretty much taking like a good solid. What was it like a? I've taken like a good solid portion just off and stuff. So just to go forth a recharge, try to catch up on some things, and on top of that, it's like overall it's been good. It's like my Golden State Warriors won the NBA Finals this past week. I'm so fucking stoked about that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And more happy about it than like say for my dad and stuff, my family encountered a recent loss and stuff with my aunt my aunt passing away like a couple at this point now, like almost like a couple weeks ago. But at the same time and stuff, it's just crazy how everything has been going around and stuff the past couple months, like from family stuff to work stuff to changes here and there, and then like now all of a sudden in the middle of things, like we're now hitting the 500th episode of our podcast and stuff. It's
Yep.
just so freaking crazy in and of itself. And you know what? It's like it just feels pretty fucking amazing that we have a place where we can go through. We can just shoot the shit pretty much and just get things going.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Think you talked about it before we recorded one of the shows
Hmm.
last week. Um, about like it'd be awesome if they had a Nintendo Direct this week, because then it would perfectly lay it out to our 500th episode
Yeah.
would be uh, a Nintendo Direct reaction podcast. And I'm like, man, like I've been thinking about that for a couple weeks now. Like I was like doing the math a few weeks ago. I'm like, man, like if we do this show, we do this show, and if it's direct, like yeah, I'll be like, I was kind of hoping it would work that way, because like our first episode was us covering E3
Yes, it was.
2013. um so it'd be awesome, just over 9 years later, that we would be covering still, like this sense Summer Game
Oh
Fest.
yeah.
But still kind of, we're still feeling the residual effects of said show. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty incredible that we've been doing this for 500 episodes now, that not including the probably half dozen that we've lost in that time.
No doubt,
um
right?
we've been pretty good about staying on schedule. Like 2019 was a bad year for me personally, so we were kind of intermittent there for a little bit. But like other than that, we haven't missed a week.
Oh,
um
that's the most amazing part.
so yeah, we've been, yeah, so it's pretty incredible that we've still doing this. Like we've lost two feeds
Yep.
in that time frame. Like we've lost the majority of our listeners twice now. And we were doing really good there. And then last year, obviously, Katy Perry almost killed the podcast.
Almost quite
But we're
literally.
coming back a little bit. Yeah, almost literally. Um, when we lost our feed and everything, that sucked. Because we were doing like 5,000 downloads a month on there, and then that was gone with no notice. And now we're not quite there yet, but we're slowly getting back to where we were. But we've been picking up steam a little bit more on YouTube the last couple months, which is great. We're trying to do more work and double down on that, and that's picking up a little bit, so we appreciate that. So if you're watching us there or just listening to us, please go check it out. Look in the show notes, and you'll see the links to all of our socials, all the places that our pods are cast at, and our YouTube channel. So really appreciate it if you like, follow, subscribe us, and all those places. Like feels good when we get that little follow notice or subscription notice. That always makes it feel pretty good. But yeah, thank you, Gables, for doing this
And
with me for
hey, man, thank
500
you,
years.
Tyler,
Yeah,
for obviously putting up with my shit
yeah,
too.
cool. Man, I'm like the diva receiver of this
The
podcast.
Devo
So
receiver.
you're the guy,
You're the wide
you're
back.
cool hand Luke over here.
You're the
Yeah,
wide back that's
yeah,
going through.
yeah. I'm the middle linebacker that's like on edge at all times. Like, is he gonna he'll be there, but he might murder somebody at the same time. We don't know.
That's a good point.
So, Yeah, it depends how technology works for me. But yeah, we're doing this. We enjoy doing it. We're gonna keep doing it. Whether there's a half dozen people listening to us or half a million, I don't know. But yeah, thank you guys. If whether this is your 500th time or your first time, thanks for watching. And while you're here, click that like button. Click on Gables' junk there, where that like button is. He really appreciated it. I appreciate it. Like Gables getting the residual, woohoo, would make me feel good. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, this is the like I said, DrunkNerds podcast where we primarily talk about video games. So, we've got a pretty heavy
We
week, Gables.
do.
So, why don't we jump into it here? So we got a lot of like, I mean, I think there's like 14 stories here. I put a lot of them in like the other news bracket, so that's like they're worth discussing, but there's not like a huge conversation
Right.
there. So a good chunk of them are there. But we're gonna start off here, Gables, with the we had a Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary stream, and I was planning on doing like a live react to it. I'm like, I'm home. I've been on vacation this week, and I've officially hit like 6 o'clock Friday. The depression kicked in. I'm like, oh, it's just a weekend now. The weekend's here. This is no longer vacation. It's just a weekend, and I've been like a massive depression. Like I've been looking forward to this since my last vacation, which was September, and my next vacation isn't until February. So it's depressing. But anyways, it's been nice to be home and recharge the batteries, but yeah, still sucks. Um, but Gables, we had a lot of shit. Sorry, heard a noise in the hallway. But anyways, we had a lot of shit. Kind of like it was like a 10-minute thing, so I was like, fuck it. It's probably gonna be nothing. It's Square. They're stupid. But they announced to start off they're like hawking a bunch of buy some statues, buy an alarm clock, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Gables. I
The
kind of want
alarm
the
clock
alarm
looks
clock.
very tempting, I gotta admit.
It's like $120
I
though,
may
but
not be the
yeah,
biggest
fuck
Final
it.
Fantasy
Uh,
VII fan, but I'm like, dude, that clock is awesome.
it's pretty fucking awesome clock, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't like. I have a phone, like it's pretty reliable. I don't need to work. I don't need a. But it's very cool looking. Not $120 cool looking though. But anyways, they announced on top of that that First Soldier, which Gables, if you had told me First Soldier was out, I would have called you a liar. But apparently season 3 is starting soon, so it's been out for a little bit now. But that's like that mobile battle royale
Yeah.
game. Apparently, I heard it's okay. Like it's not bad, but it's on mobile, so I'm like, I'm not gonna try it. If it was on console, maybe I'd be more
Right,
apt to
right.
check it out. But they're basically like reusing assets from the remake and turning it and like obviously dumbing it way down for mobile. But I heard it's not bad. But I just playing games on the phone. Ew. But next up here, they announced that Ever Crisis is coming to mobile. So this is like a beta's coming this year, which is weird because it's a single player thing. It's very weird that they're putting this just on mobile. Like I was, so what it is like they're basically taking all of the all the 7 stuff they've done over the course of 25 years, like the main game, Advent Children, Crisis Core, any other. So there's that one third-person shooter game that was on PS2, Cerberus, I think. Um, that they're kind of all melding them together to like make one big story out of it, and it's coming out episodically. They announced this last year, and it's still not out yet. There's a beta
Hmm.
coming this year, so I don't know what the fuck's going on with that goddamn thing. I'd be more like tempted if it was like that's something actually like it looks kind of cool. It's like chibi stuff. Kind of they did the same thing with Final Fantasy. They did like a chibi version of it for mobile. I think they eventually put it out on
Right.
consoles. I think it came to Switch. So if they put it on like Switch for like $10, maybe I'd check it out. But that's coming. There's a beta coming this year, so who fucking knows when that's happening. But Gables,
Yeah.
Gables,
Yeah. What?
it happened. It fucking happened. It got real crazy right after this. We got motherfucking Crisis Core is coming this winter. So we know the Nintendo calendar of when they say a season, they mean literally what the calendar says, not like when we say summer, we just it's June, July, August, But really, the calendar is like summer hasn't officially started yet. It doesn't start till looking at the calendar here Tuesday, June 21st. So like, so someone posted this on Twitter that in Japan the calendar for like summer or like for this sample for winter they count January, March or January, February,
Yes.
March. So I looked it up. That's actually true. So they just kind of round up from December 21st to January on this. So um, assuming that's gonna be first quarter 2023, and then that's a remaster. It's not a remake, but it's a game that's been stuck on PSP since like
7.
2008, I think. Well, it was 2007 in Japan. 2008 here is
Hmm.
what someone said. I don't know if that's true. I didn't research it, but that's what I was told. Was like it's been 15 years in Japan, but 14 for us.
Yeah, I remember buying
Um,
that new.
that's game's been
No,
yeah, and they never put it out
they
digitally.
didn't.
There, there's like another game Square Enix didn't put that's kind of
Birth
popular
by
that's
Sleep.
stuck on the PSP. That one, thank you. Yeah, I knew you would have had it. Um, those are like the two big ones that are like
Yeah,
stuck
it
on
was during
PSP
the
that you
time
just
when
can't.
Square Enix was not doing digital copies of specific games that would have loved to have gotten like digital copies, especially people who own them physically, like me. Birth by
Yeah,
Sleep and Crisis
and
Core,
you
I owned both of them at one point at physical before I got rid of my entire PSP collection and stuff because I was trading in to get a Vita.
yeah, and then that was like when the PSP Go came out. And that was a big deal. I actually like remember that now. Like, I remember that like when someone brought that up, I'm like, holy shit, I totally forgot about the PSP
Yeah,
Go being a thing. But also the fact that I remember that was a big deal where some games just didn't come digitally, and those are like the two biggest games that are just stuck. That and up well, it's been ported, the Metal Gear game, Metal Gear
Peace
Solid game,
Walker.
Peace Walker. Yeah, like those three games were like the big three PSP games that obviously Peace Walker came to consoles with the HD collection like
Yeah,
7 or 8
that was the
years ago.
last remaining
But
game that I'm aware of. The major big game for the PSP that's never been ported over in like 15 years, and that's Crisis Core.
yeah, yeah, like Metal Gear Acid could just stay on PSP. We don't need
Yeah.
that game. But those games are bad. And then there was that other really bad Metal Gear Solid game that was I
Portable
played
Ops
that like
Plus?
fuck the yeah, that one was straight trash. Um, it was not good. It was definitely like you could see where they're like you can see like it was the beginning where five
Mm-hmm.
went like they were building towards it, but it was just straight. Anyways, Final Fantasy 7. Um, so Crisis Core is coming this winter. I have talked about it over and over again. Like I'm super excited, but I'm definitely like a fake fan, I guess, or a new fan, or whatever you want to call it, of the Final Fantasy 7 games. Like I got in on Remake.
Huh?
Remake was my second favorite game of 2022. It was or 2020 rather. It was my favorite game of 2020, but it was not the best. Like Last of Us Part Two is one of the greatest games of all time to me. Um, but so that was number one. But Final Fantasy VII was the most fun game I had. If you just look up, if you Google the definition of hype, and you'll just see a picture of Final Fantasy VII remake. Um, but anyways, so Crisis Core is coming. That game looks completely awesome. I don't know what's going on with the slot machine thing in the
Oh,
top
that's
left
how you
corner,
level up.
but it's that sounds awful. I don't like the sound of that. I'm gonna look into I'm gonna look into more of it, but
Dude, trust me, it is a
like
good playing game. It definitely has some interesting story and tidbits. But at the same time, there were a couple things about the original Crisis Core release that I still have questions about to this day. One of them was the UI, because when it first released on the PSP, you only could move, say, the camera. You could not really move the camera with two analog sticks because there was no second analog stick on
mm,
the PSP. So it was
oh
kind of
yeah, I had the
weird to
little
do
nub thing.
like camera movement with, I think you had to hold the R button and then like had to do some with the directional pad or some shit. But
I imagine you're gonna fix
yeah,
that.
the can yeah, they're going to go forth and do a lot of that type of stuff where they've already went through and fixed the UI. They've fixed like the obviously the camera stuff to it. They kind of moved the level up system and stuff to where it was at the bottom. It was actually at the very bottom of the screen and stuff like that. And every time it would hit a certain character, I'm not too sure which characters that it would hit and stuff like that, but you would level up and stuff like that. It was one of the core gripes I had with that game because you're playing this RPG, everything else is going good and stuff except for the cameras, and then all of a sudden, like the leveling up system that just didn't make sense. But it looks like that Square Enix is going to be addressing some of those problems when it eventually does come out this winter.
Yeah, yeah. It. I'm all in on this damn thing. So apparently it takes place 5 years before, and I guess they kind of like because I don't know much about like I'm trying to like it's not like I know the big twist in seven like with I know the big thing that
Uh huh.
happens with a character in the game, and I don't want to. I know it's 25 years old, but I don't want to be a dick and spoil for some people
Oh
that
yeah,
maybe are
yeah,
trying
yeah,
not to know things about the thing, but we all, but Gables knows
yeah.
what
We
I'm
do have
talking about here.
younger gamers that
Um,
have never experienced Final Fantasy VII, so I understand.
yeah, yeah, but it was like when we were kids, it was like the biggest fucking thing that ever happened. That and the Night of the Old Republic
That is
twist. Those are like the two biggest
exactly. It's
moments in
like
gaming history.
one of those big gaming twists that I never gotten away from was the one in Final Fantasy VII and stuff towards the end of that game because they would freaking talk about it on game shows in regards to like Ziff Davis TV or like some bits of G4 or something like that
G4.
before even internet stuff
Mm.
took off popular.
I got spoiled on both of those things
Yeah.
because at that point they were like 10-year-old games, but it's like, god damn it. Uh, but I never really cared about that until Final Fantasy VII Remake, when I literally bought it on a whim. You sold me on it when I remember we recorded a podcast the night it
Hmm.
was coming out, and you were talking about it, and you sold me on it. And it's funny is like you sold me on the game, like how hyped you were, like or how could have been, or how good it will be, and then I played it and beat the shit out of it, and you never played it. So it's funny to me like how that worked out. Where you just
Tyler, I
you were
know when I see a good game when it comes to some of the retrospects and stuff, and I know Final Fantasy VII like remake is a good game. But you,
yeah. I mean, Gables, we're gonna talk about your fantasy critic league here in a little bit. We'll talk about what you and your good games. You know when you see one. You know what I'm talking about. We'll talk about that a little later, though. But yeah, I am incredibly pumped for this. I'm all for like I've said since I beat remake that I don't want to play Final Fantasy VII because I know like the big twist, but I don't know the whole crux of the story. You know. But now like I was listening to some people talk about like the big differences, like with some of the stuff we've seen. So obviously, the next thing here, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is the sequel. Final Fantasy VII is gonna be remake. That whole thing is gonna be a
yep.
trilogy now. Um, the guy that directed the first game, he is directing Kingdom Hearts 4 first, and then he'll go to part 3. He's
Hmm.
gonna direct that. But I guess so they've talked about this. They've talked about this previously, where they're really trying to like get games out faster because they know like how like Square Enix takes a very long time
Oh
to put
yeah, they're
games out.
notorious for that.
Um, yeah, and like they're trying to fix that, and obviously like we talked about how bad at business they are. Like they're really good at putting out their own games, but they're terrible at like publishing games. Um, they like get the wrong people to make games for them, or they like or they make bad like they like oh that game like Battle Wonderworld, okay that game sign me up, that game's gonna sell 10 million copies. Um, you know how that went. Like Strangers of Paradise, like they hired Team Ninja to make it. Like they are like borderline Konami bad at publishing games and hiring people to make games. But they're always great at making their own games. And we talk about the problem with their games is it takes so long for the games to come out. Like it
Hmm.
literally took, I think, 7 years for um, Final Fantasy remake to come out, and it was
Yeah.
got canceled because they had like it kind of was like a Metroid Prime 4 thing where after 3 years they had to move development and then make it. So apparently, so they've talked about is that um, part 3 is already in
Oh,
pre-production.
wow.
So I mean, obviously it's pre-production. That doesn't mean shit. Like fucking Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production right now, but they are working. They're using Unreal. They're using Unreal Engine 5, which is awesome because people have like watched some of the epic streams they've done, talk about how streamlined that thing is, and like I've listened to people that like work on games talk about how awesome that system is, how like it makes not only does it make things look fucking prettier, those games are gorgeous looking. It makes it so much like it just saves a lot of time on just making things like you can like more like copy and paste structures, or you don't have to like go like crazy like details on like the like minor like the backgrounds or things on the side, like the thing like they just streamline a lot of things, so that's going to help a lot. It's already in pre-production, this game. So Rebirth is the name of the sequel. This is coming winter of next
Right.
year, so I'm going to assume that's really first quarter 2024. Assume a delay, maybe spring 2024, which is way sooner than I thought. I've been talking about for years now, for a couple of years now, that like oh we're not going to see the sequel until 2026. Like I thought we wouldn't see it till the end of this generation. And the fact, I mean, 2024 is still a little ways away, but about year and a half away here. But I mean that's not, I mean the fact that I'm going to be playing most likely Rebirth in less than 2 years is way sooner than I thought. And the fact that it's in pre-production, they're using this whole different system. They're trying to do a better job. Kingdom Hearts 4, from all the rumors we've been hearing, sounds like it's closer than we
Wow.
think. Like not like probably not gonna come like next year, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a 2025 or 2020, like a late 2024 game. Then maybe we're talking about, maybe it's not insane to think that Gables, we get all three of these games before the end of this generation,
That's not,
which is
yeah,
exciting.
honestly, that's kind of crazy to think about, but that's not out of the realm of possibility where we may get all three of these Final Fantasy VII remakes by the end of the generation. That would be an accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, but anyways, like I know I'm going on really long, but Rebirth looked fantastic. I'm kind of curious, like there's been like some people like that are, that love Final Fantasy VII, the original one, are talking about like, like, is this gonna be open world? Like, we didn't see a lot of gameplay. We just saw him, like, we saw Cloud walking with Sephiroth. They're walking to like a blown up reactor, I believe, from what I understand. But yeah, I mean, what's crazy is like the voiceover, like they kind of like talk about the big twist, but they don't mention it, but like they imply it. So if you know, kind of thing, in the trailer for like, they talk like, you hear the voiceover and they're talking about like, I saw like you died or whatever. And it's like, are they like full blown, like this is like a multiverse thing here, like because they've already like, we already know like remake like totally like they follow the general story, but they take a lot of liberties with the story of the original game. So I've always thought about like, I don't want to play the game because I don't want anything spoiled for me, outside the big twist. But it's like, man, maybe I can go play Final Fantasy VII, because like this sounds almost like, they're implying that this stuff happened, but it didn't happen in this like universe. I don't know. I want to. I am tempted to go back
Boy.
and play the OG Final Fantasy
Yeah,
VII
I've
game.
I've been hearing a
So
little bit about that stuff too, in regards to some of the mentions, in regards to, oh, mentioning this happened to me in this such a way, or this happened to me in this such a way, or something like that. And people have been kind of talking and thinking that this may potentially be like some sort of multiverse sort of thing, to where the events of Final Fantasy VII, the original one, happened, and then this one's like set in a different type of universe or something like that, and then the ones like potentially like on mobile or somewhere like a different universe from that. It's like different
yeah,
types of things that are interwoven but kind of like merge into one.
yeah, yeah. And people were like wondering if they make changes to ever or Crisis Core to kind of like work coincide with that, because I everybody talks about the ending of Crisis Core is
Yes,
like one of the greatest endings to a video
yes,
game
it
ever,
is.
and I can't fucking wait to get there. Like, I don't want to know about that one, but I'm definitely like, I think when there's a gap in there, I might give Final Fantasy Seven, the OG game,
Let
a
me tell
try.
you something though.
Um,
When I finished Crisis Core originally and stuff, I had totally forgotten about the ending until like I was listening to like all these guys like talking sort of like a podcast or something. They talked verbatim about the ending of Crisis Core, and I'm like, oh my god, I remember that. And yeah, that was an awesome ending. Cause yeah, things happen inside there and stuff. But I want you to remember, Tyler, if you do go through and play Crisis Core Reunion and stuff like that,
oh, I am.
keep
Mm,
keep in mind the core characters that you're going to be introduced to. And like obviously Zach Fair, that's the main character that you got to go through and stuff.
yeah, and he's in a decent chunk of
Right,
flashbacks in the remake,
right.
so I know of him.
But the three characters in mind is the first one obviously is Sephiroth, but like the other two characters you got to keep
Yeah,
in mind here are Angeal and Genesis. All three of those are connected.
Project G, Project Genesis. I've watched that trailer. Gables, I can't tell you. I've lost count how many times I've rewatched the Crisis Core reunion and Rebirth
Mm-hmm.
trailers. I don't know if numbers are high. They made numbers high enough to like count how many times I fucking watch these guys. I am
And you better
incredibly
believe though
hyped.
they're probably going to be changing some things around inside of this version of Crisis Core, because if they're going to try to play it in
Yeah,
terms of like say the remake and stuff like that and tie it into that, then yeah, there are probably going to be a couple things that are going to be kind of weird off the wall that maybe you'll tie into Rebirth. You never know.
yeah, yeah. But we got to move on. But yeah. Oh boy, I am so hyped, Gables. I wish I would have live reacted, because I was borderline weeping in my living room watching that fucking thing. Um,
Now you've become a fanboy.
yeah, I have, and I've only played remake. But moving on here to see some Nintendo news here. We kind of touched upon this, but apparently there's a Nintendo Direct happening Right now the rumor is June
Yeah,
29th, but there's also been some rumors that they've heard. Basically, everything is kind of like June 28th and 29th, which is the Tuesday or
depending upon
Wednesday.
time zones,
I'm
apparently. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it would be that makes sense, I guess. Well, no, because yeah, I guess if it's the 20, I don't know, because Japan's a day ahead of us. So maybe it is June 28th for us, June 29th for Japan, kind of thing. I'm hoping it's June 20. I'm sorry. I'm looking for YouTube listeners. I keep looking up at this over here. That's because I have a calendar up here. It's actually a dog pooping calendar my dad bought for me as a joke for Christmas, and is a little husky, like a little baby puppy husky pooping. You know what? I'm gonna just
oh
grab it. I'm gonna
jeez.
show it to everybody here. But here, give me a second here. All right. So here it is, Gables.
Oh yeah, he's popping a squat.
Yeah, yep. It is the Nature Calls 2022 wall calendar. But yeah, like a little baby little
That'd
husky
be like
pooping.
something my dad would give me.
Yeah, yeah. So my dad bought it for me as a joke. He bought one for my sister as well. I hope this is catching my microphone. Um, he bought one for my sister as well. But he accidentally, but it was a cat's pooping one, but it was for 2021. He bought it for Christmas for us. Um, but yeah, so I use that as a little calendar now. But anyways, I'm hoping I kind of like personally I hope it's the 29th because it's a Wednesday and that's supposed to be my day off, one of my days off from work. I mean, it's 50-50 chance I get it off, but if I do, it'll be awesome. I could be home to watch it. But yeah, I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like, because or last week when we did like a show before Summer Game Fest all
Yeah,
happened, and we're like, oh, they gotta have one. They have a bunch of stuff they haven't like. We have a bunch of stuff announced but no dates. I looked it up. I'm like, really? There's not like Bayonetta 3 doesn't have a date. Um, and Mario Plus Rabbids doesn't have a date, but that might very well could be a Ubisoft thing, where like all the advertisement so far has been, all the big news has been from the first game to the second game. All the big stuff has been shown at Ubisoft
yeah,
events, so I could see them just holding that because they've said they're not doing anything in June, but they didn't say anything about the rest of the summer, so that could be there. But yeah, I mean, like there's the Metroid Prime remaster, which has been rumored for November because it's the 20th anniversary. There is, I mean, there's the Zelda stuff. Like Nintendo wants a Zelda game a year. We don't have a game this year, so that could feel like maybe that's their void. But I mean, we talked about a lot over the course of the year about they got a lot of stuff announced. They got a lot of dates, but like the calendar is kind of full for them.
yeah. It's getting to that point.
What's your I mean, if say like, do you feel this is pretty possible, and like, what are you expecting out of this
Well,
direct?
honestly, there are some bit of core holes and stuff that they do need to go forth and fill in regards to game releases, but that's just the thing, though. I kind of feel like that this whole thing for, say, June 28th to 29th or something like that, the whole thing about it just came really out of the blue because of Alana Pierce, one of the who has ties inside of the gaming journalism sort of realm and stuff.
Yeah,
And for those listening, asking who is Alana Pierce, she works for Sony Santa Monica right at this moment in time, but she used to work for IGN for years. She worked for Funhouse for a bit.
yeah. She knows a
So
lot of people in
she
the gaming world.
absolutely knows a lot of people inside the gaming sphere. But after she went through and reacted to the Microsoft conference that was held not too long ago and stuff, at the end of it, she actually pinned in and just randomly just said, yeah, Nintendo Direct Day, like June 29th. And people asked her, like, why do you think it's June 29th? It's like, oh, I've been hearing from like a couple friends and stuff, blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And yeah, it's going to be directly on June 29th. She has a circle on her calendar and all this other stuff. It was just weird
Yeah,
because after she did that, there were a lot of insiders in regards to who normally have this type of information is that just correlated. It's like, yeah, this is coming the 29th. Yeah, they're coming to the 29th. Now, like Nate
yeah.
Drake, Nate the Hate, and
Nate the
stuff like
Hate.
that.
Yeah, Jeff Grubb. They all talk
Mm-hmm.
about like they didn't have dates, but they heard there was one happening at the end of
Yep.
the month. So pretty much all the people that you typically go to for that information is all kind of corroborated with that information. So I believe it's most likely happening. What a big week that could be because that's also the rumor for the God of War Ragnarok, either a state of play or we get the date or we get at least our state of play. Like we at least get the date, but there might be a state of play that week. So that'd be a big week.
Yeah, it
But
would.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I, it's crazy. Like this year is pretty packed. It's crazy how packed it feels. Like almost too packed for Nintendo games, and I felt that for a while. like going into the second half of the year. Like they're putting out like two big games. I mean, I know like Live Alive isn't their game, but they're
Yes, they're
publishing it.
publishing it. Yeah.
Um, they got a Xenoblade in July.
Splatoon in September.
Splatoon September. I think there's a couple like slightly bigger games in August. But yeah, I mean, Neon White just came out this week. They have the Three Hopes Fire Emblem Warriors game coming out next week.
But
Um,
there still
yeah,
is
I
some
mean,
room for some big releases come like in that September,
yeah,
no, not just September, but like so that October through like December
yeah,
type of period besides Scarlet and Violet.
yeah. It's just I'm like, man, like it feels like there's just like, but like you could probably push some of that shit to
Oh
like
yeah,
early
yeah,
next year and be
understandable.
fine.
They could
Yeah,
possibly do that too.
it just feels like they're trying to pack in a lot of games. This not trying to, but like they just have a lot of games. Like, and like I guess we can throw it in here. There's that Fire Emblem
Oh
Warriors
yeah.
game that or Fire Emblem game that leaked. The screenshots leaked of it. It's apparently Emily Rogers, who's been pretty much batting 1,000 on Nintendo leaks for a long time now. Um, she mentioned that there's a Fire Emblem game that's been in like or that was been done for
Yep.
nearly a year now, and they just haven't shown it. It's not a remake. It's not a port or anything like that. It's a brand new game. Um, like when the like like did they announce that here? Like they originally like their talks that it might come out this year. There's another game we'll talk about next that is apparently they were supposed to come out early this year
Yep.
and it's just in development hell
Yep.
right now. Um, but yeah, I mean I don't know. Gables like my big thing is like there's a lot of things we don't know about for this year, but also like what's the plan for next year? Um, like all we know about for next year is Breath of the Wild 2. Um, and I know there's been a lot of talk of like, hey, like what's going on with like when's the Switch 2 or the Switch Pro, whatever? What's the next Switch thing coming? When's the next big Nintendo thing coming? And it's like people are like wondering, is it coming 2023? Is it coming 2024? And it's almost like, are they just trying to get all the big stuff out of the way? They're like trying to get those games out, and then that way, when the games like when the next Switch or the next Nintendo console comes, I'm assuming it's gonna be a hybrid console like the Switch. Like, is that gonna be like? Are they just getting all these games out now before like kind of like we've seen that in the past with like PlayStation has done that with like PS3 and PS4 where like they had a lot of big games coming out like Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us Part 2 came out like months just before the PS5 came out. We had that with Last of Us came out, a few months before the PS4 came out. It's like, why wouldn't you hold that to be your big like console launch exclusive? That would have been huge. You could have said the same thing about with PS5 with Last of Us or Ghost of Tsushima, and they didn't do that. So I'm almost wondering if like there's all these games they have, are they just trying to get them out now? And like, I'm not like I don't want to turn this to like a big like when's the Switch 2 coming? But it's like I have that in my mind now where I'm like in my head I'm like early 2024 at the earliest, but now I'm like, is it crazy to think that maybe like late 2023 we're seeing the next evolution of the Switch? Like because like they have nothing for next year except for Breath of the Wild.
Right, I understand. I understand. In regards to back this up a little bit right here, to back it up to the Fire Emblem stuff, not only did that not only did Emily Rogers go through and cover that stuff, but seeing subsequent screenshots from comment just popping up on Twitter randomly and stuff like that, to where you see almost verbatim the same character that she was describing as like one of the main characters and stuff, that the strange red and blue hair, and one of the pictures correlates where it looks like this lady or something like that, it has this long red and blue kind of interwoven kind of like knitted hair or something towards the back and
Mm.
stuff. And then seeing some other screenshots, and they look fairly clean to be fake, in my honest opinion. I honestly kind of feel like that those leaks are the initial game, and from what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
possibly from like a Chinese version of the game itself. But it was kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, and they work with they have Chinese companies that they like as assist teams that
Right,
work on their games.
absolutely they
So
do. So something like that leaking out, that's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's also interesting that some of those screenshots have been taken down by Nintendo, it looks like. But
yeah,
yes, for the Fire Emblem stuff, it doesn't surprise me that Nintendo would like sit on a game like say like Fire Emblem, or at this case, Advance Wars, either because of something happening like around the world, or because they just want to try to fit it in when they feel like it's the right time to fit it in and stuff. But
yeah,
as far as going through and maybe looking at a Switch successor and stuff like that. I mean, you bring up a good point to where we're getting all these major Nintendo games like clustered in regards to not just by the end of this year, but potentially towards the beginning of, say, the next year. We still don't have like anything more for like the next year besides, say, Breath of the Wild 2. That's the
Yeah.
initial thing.
I mean, there's
There
nothing.
literally isn't that
Yeah.
much unless they go forth and showcase a couple of different games that try to say they're going to go forth and like release within the next year. Either the rumored Donkey Kong game or the rumored, I don't know, maybe like
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4 or whatever the hell. But the thing about Nintendo is, it's like this is a company that's known to sit has been known to sit on completed games, regardless of like whether or not they feel it's like ready to go and put out or not. But it definitely is holding credence that we may see a successor to the Switch sooner or later. As far as the system itself, I could definitely see them going the route with a Nintendo Switch again, to where it's like, hey, what isn't broke, don't fix it. Go forth and release a
Yeah.
model, a newer model for like the Switch, called the Switch 2 or whatever the hell. Advertise the backwards compatibility
Yeah.
to all your Switch games that you previously have and tied to your account, and obviously have the dock and stuff upgraded to where it's like it's a like a better version of the current dock or something. The screen's fine, it make it more aligned, like kind of a better version of like a Steam Deck, it's stuff we could speculate about and stuff. But yeah, this is not out of the realm of possibility that Nintendo could go forth and do that route because of how successful things have been. But it also would make things interesting in terms of cooperating with a lot of the rumors we've pretty much heard ever since the Switch was first launched and stuff, that, oh, hey, they're making this like a Switch Pro model. Oh, hey, they're making this and that,
Yeah.
It's like it definitely is a big sign seeing a lot of games, like a lot of big cluster first party games just releasing in a chunk of like a 6 month period leading up to another
Yeah.
eventual console sort of like release, or like maybe like they did with the Wii, the last major exodus until that console just pretty much steamed, like just pretty much flatlined all the way until the next console released. Because that's what initially happened with
Yeah.
the Nintendo Wii historically, to where
And the Wii
well, the
U.
Wii U did it faster, obviously, in terms of its thing, like not, like
Yeah.
a
But those
year and a
like
half.
20.
That's basically what
Yeah,
happened.
like 2014 to 15 were awesome for the Wii U, but then it was like the last like 18 months we didn't get
It's
shit.
like Nintendo like
And
figured out halfway through that generation, it's like, oh shit, we are in deep shit here.
yeah, there's no
Yeah,
saving this thing.
exactly the
Yeah.
point. But it's interesting to think about, interesting to speculate, but until we see more in regards to what Nintendo has to do, like in terms of, say, their successor, we already know that there's something in the works from them. We've
No.
we
Oh
already
yeah.
know like the specs of like
Yeah,
the
the
Nvidia
Nvidia leak
leak when
happened.
that happened and stuff. We already know they're planning some sort of a model, a newer model of the Switch.
Yeah.
But at the same point, they haven't gone through and did their initial dotting their I's, crossing their T's. And I don't blame them. The Switch is at
Yeah.
that point to where it peaked in 2020, in my honest opinion. And it's still going strong in
Yeah.
regards to selling.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're selling as fast as they're making. I'm sorry to cut you off, but they're selling them as literally as fast as they
Yeah.
can make them right now. And they had to like they were planning on selling like almost like 23
Hmm.
million this year, but they had to drop it because they literally can't make
That's
enough
true.
to sell the
That's
thing.
true.
So it'd be really stupid to announce like they announced the NX super early before it
Yes.
came out, but it was okay to do that because the Wii U was a dead console. Um, Even though it was like 2 years out, it was still a dead console. This like it'd be nuts to do that right now because they literally can't make enough to
Well,
build demand.
absolutely. It's
So
definitely that type of thing to
yeah,
where this is probably going to be close to the best selling game console that we've ever had in regards to the whole gaming
yeah,
industry. At the same point, what I
yeah,
mentioned when like the Switch kind of peaked like in certain like 2020 is where like a lot of the nuance and a lot of the thing to push that hardware towards this absolute limit and stuff kind of felt like it peaked inside of that 2020 period, and now it's like we are getting some great games since then and stuff like that, but we've already met the limitations of like the Nintendo Switch. So it definitely it definitely feels like maybe the next couple of years we're going to see a successor. But I am in agreement with you in regards to it would be absolutely stupid for Nintendo to announce this next generation or this next Switch system that has better specs as this and that, or something completely different and stuff when they're already still doing fairly well in regards to selling more Switches. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, fuck, they released the OLED last year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they do something more like I've talked about. Like, yeah, like definitely the last couple of years, like Age of Calamity is the thing I always go to, where like that was like the point where I'm like, all right, we need to do something here
Yeah.
because it's getting pretty bad. But yeah, I'm full. I mean, I'm fine if they just keep doing like just they talk about like Wada was like always talk about the Apple method. I'm just like, man, just fucking you can just keep that going and just upgrade the don't just do backward compatibility and just keep that going. Like I would be ecstatic
Yep.
with that. Just make every like 3 or 4 years, 5 years, whatever, just for $300, whatever it is, put out a better version of it. Let me keep playing those old ones. Uh, that's all I want.
Smartphones do it all the
Who
time.
knows? Yeah. But I mean, they're gonna do what
Yeah.
they want to do. Unfortunately, so for better or worse. But moving on here, sticking with them though. Uh, I was like going through this. I've read this article a couple times now, and I was like, I'm gonna cut out the main stuff I want to talk about, and I just like I'm Gables. I'm just gonna read the whole fucking thing. It's a longer one, so bear with me here. But Imran Khan from Fanbyte talked about this one, and he is. I know he might not be a huge name. Fanbyte's not a big, maybe not the biggest website in the world, but like he has been. He worked for Game Informer. He's been around for a long time, and he is he leaked Strangers of Paradise. He leaked Resident Evil 4. He has been spot on at everything he's reported. So I'm gonna believe him when he's saying this. And starting off here though, so this is about a sequel to 1-2 Switch. Apparently, I didn't realize how good this thing had done. It sold 3.45 million copies as of March 31st,
Hmm.
2022. But I'm just gonna read through pretty much like 95% of this article here because like the whole thing's fascinating. So bear with me as I read through some of this here. So we might stop to talk about it as we get some stuff. So the information presented in this article. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part. Basically, he's just talking about like obviously things change. Like this game could get canceled at any point. Like there's obviously like the Star Fox F-Zero game that was leaked a long time ago and it eventually got canceled. So here's kind of the crux of it. So accounts differ on exactly when the sequel to 1-2 Switch started development. The title, which sources say settled on everybody's Switch or everybody's 1-2 Switch at one point, went through a few variations as developers struggled with a core question: how exactly do you make a sequel to 1-2 Switch? The obvious answer was to simply add more minigames, as other iterative party titles have done. But they also wanted to release a title that didn't render the first game moot and stop it from selling, which is weird because they literally just released a second Mario Party game
Mm-hmm.
for consoles. And that kind of made the last game moot. And it's been out as a console launch game. How many people are actually buying that fucking thing at this point? But anyways, moving on. The inspiration instead came from Jackbox Games, developer of the Jackbox Party Pack series games like You Don't Know Jack, Fibbage, Quiplash, and the like are popular at parties, inspiring everybody's 1-2 Switch team to establish a game show like theme with a host and more participants, as opposed to the original game setup of having two users with a Joy-Con, each going up against each other. Everybody's 1-2 Switch had many more players at once. With the use of smartphones, the game could have lobbies as big as 100 people. Thus, the name Everybody's 1-2 Switch, which I can't. I don't even want to imagine. Like we know, like the party pack stuff is
It
really
can be,
fun.
yes.
But they're
I say it
what
can be, yes.
yeah, like I've had a lot of fun playing those games, and like I played them like in groups of people. I played like there's been Twitch streamers I've watched. They give you the code, you get to play with them. That's pretty exciting. I think they probably see that and they want to get into that. But I just can't imagine um, like the Nintendo Online isn't that great, and I just can't imagine 100 phones on their system. But anyways, um, the idea on paper was solid. Nintendo EPD Group 4 designed a host for the minigames based on international appeal, a bipedal horse that looked like a man wearing a rubber horse mask. The game's Text simply referred to him as horse because it sounded enough like the English word host. That it would come across in different languages. Minigames would ask players to physically move around the environment for things like musical chairs or use the phone to play bingo. There was even a game that resembled a virtual version of Spin the Bottle that involved.
Spin the
Sorry.
bottle.
Spin the bottle that involved people saying nice things about that person to another person. I forgot about that part. That's,
What the fuck?
that's totally the spin a bottle that I grew up knowing. When playtesting groups received the game, it gets better, guys. Trust me. When playtesting groups received the game, the feedback to the development team was brutal. The target audience Nintendo was hoping to hit, families with children, found the games boring. Many didn't even want to play through entire rounds. In the bingo example, one player would use a Joy-Con to mime digging out a number before reading it off the screen, a process that playtesters reported as
Oh.
tedious. The main mode of the game, the team battle mode, the team battle mode pit at least two teams of players against each other in various mini games. This mode prominently featured horse.
Wow, dude.
I'm
Just
sorry.
something about a dude in like a rubber horse mask or something like that. Just going through and introducing you just mediocre freaking party games, you know. That just sounds horrible all the way around.
It's fun. It's so fucking funny. This is my favorite thing ever. This mode prominently featured a horse who would give color commentary during the games. During the localization process, sources started calling the game horse shit.
Could you just imagine the creators just like behind that type of glass or something, just peering in, like the testers can't see them, and all of a sudden just going, yeah, oh
Yeah,
man, oh this game's
it's a
horseshit,
two-way
and
mirror.
the developers like,
Yeah.
and they have the interpreters trying to explain it to like the developers like, and they're just getting simultaneously more mad.
Oh
They don't
my
get it.
god,
They
it's
don't
this
get it.
is I don't know. I've read this article multiple times. It's just funnier every time I read it. Okay. It is important to note that this is not uncommon for a game. Some projects just test badly and get quietly shelved or reworked. It happens far more often than people know, and under normal circumstances, this is likely what would have happened, and no one would have been the wiser. But no one expected everybody's 1-2 switch to test quite as badly as it did. Different trusted employees within Nintendo were raising alarms that the game released as is would damage the company's reputation as a great software
Oh,
developer.
that would
That's
damage
terrible.
their thing as a developer.
But I mean, like they put out some stinkers in the past, but my God, like if it's bad enough that it's like this might permanently damage our reputation after 35 years, that's
That
bad.
is bad.
Um, Presuming that extra development would not be a problem, Nintendo went ahead with other publisher duties on the game, like printing out the cover art and placing it on in the requisite cases for retail release. Per sources, there's still a large number of empty game boxes for the title just sitting and waiting for a game with no current release date. It's unclear what Nintendo plans to do with the game now. Some sources have said that Nintendo executives will not be swayed to the idea of selling it for $60 for the game, citing how well Nintendo won or how well the original 1-2 Switch did in similar circumstance with a poor critical consensus. Some others within the company have suggested making the game an add-on bonus to the higher tier of Nintendo Switch Online, so like the
Oh, I could
expansion
see
pack,
that.
like we see.
That
Yeah,
makes more
so
sense.
yeah, like we've had the Mario Kart 8 maps in there, the New Horizons Happy Home expansion, stuff like that. That's been part of that, especially if the game is so dependent on online play for massive lobbies, which even makes more sense. The quality might matter less, sources argue, if no one is actually paying anything extra
Nobody's
for
going to
it.
pay extra for
Um,
that.
yeah, that question may already be decided internally by the time of writing, but the answer won't be publicly known until Nintendo announces the game and its plans for it. It is entirely possible it will never announce the game, take its losses, and quietly shelve it. One sources do not believe that it will happen though, as they suspect Nintendo will try to get the game out there one way or another. Maybe that there is still a best case scenario. While everyone who described this game to us mentioned the quality was not there, they noted the slightest hint of optimism that the team is doing their best to respond to feedback if and when Nintendo or if and when everybody's one two Switch does release, perhaps it surmounts the poor internal reception and comes out to be a better title for it. Maybe like Cinderella arriving at the ball, it just needs a little magic to get there. Um, one of the funniest fucking, I don't know why that got it. My God. Um,
Oh, oh my god, dude.
that's that's bad when Nintendo's like, this game is so shit, we might not put this out. Like, there's some trash games that they didn't make but they published that came out on the
Yeah,
Wii U. There's that Devil's Third game. Like they've done some like Square Enix level of like adding games to put out.
but not to
Um,
the extent to where they initially have to just talk with themselves and stuff like that. I don't think we want to release this.
mm, and like I understand like you want to make you want to get that money for it, but it's like, I mean, it's a launch game. It sold less than 3.5 million copies. Like that's very good for most games, but like fucking you look at the Switch, like that ain't diddly shit for first party
Oh
Nintendo
yeah.
games. And like the game came out, it's definitely one of those things I think I feel like when like misreading the audience type games for Nintendo, where like we talk about over and over again, like they totally misread the audience
Yep.
with the Wii U or the 3DS. And they course corrected and they fixed it obviously with 3DS, the Wii U they couldn't, but yeah, like but like the only like everybody when that game got announced was like, why is this a full fledged? First off, the first game was only $50. Like they're gonna try to charge us $60 for this game. The Jackbox games are like $20, I believe, and the party packs are less. A lot of times you can find those games for even cheaper. So you're gonna try to put out a full fledged game of this, and also on top of that, we also have to pay a a fee to pay online for this thing, which I understand. Like Xbox, Nintendo, or Xbox, PlayStation does the same thing, but um, the amount of people that play online on those consoles are way bigger than what people play online
That's
for Nintendo.
true. Absolutely, it's true.
Um, I just yeah, this makes complete sense. Like I love the idea of just if it ever does see the light of day and does come out, either be like dirt cheap, like $20 maybe, or if you're gonna make it cheaper, you might as well just put it on the expansion pack. Because if you're gonna require online anyways, especially if you're gonna be wanting up to 100 people to play this game. And another part of this is like, I guess, like because there's so many people, the rounds are longer. So like a big thing about this is like the playtesters, like it's their job to QA this game. And the game was so boring and so like tedious that they were just asking to not, can I just not play this game anymore?
Mm.
It was like, that's how boring this game, like it's not like awful. It's not like broken or buggy. It's just boring as shit. Um, that's pretty bad when it's like my job is to play broken buggy games and give you like our bad games or whatever and like give you results back. But like no, this game's so boring that I just don't want to do this anymore. um but yeah, I just I understand why you want to try to get into that Jackbox world. Like it totally makes sense. If I hope that if it does come out it's great, that's fine, but like it's definitely like once you switch, like everybody bought, the people that bought the game bought it because there was 2 games to play or 3 games to play when when
Yep.
the Switch came out. There's Breath of the Wild, there was One Two Switch, and Snipper Clips, and
Yep.
that was it. This is not a case of like, oh, the Wii Sports was a huge success, so let's make Wii Sports Resort or the what's that? There was that Wii Party game that came out that came with an extra
Yep.
controller, um, but like the game was $50, but it came with a $40 controller, so it was really only $10. Um, so yeah, like this is definitely a case of me where it's like they're misreading the audience. Like I don't think I don't doubt it's going to sell pretty well. But I wouldn't be shocked if it's I wouldn't be shocked if it sells 1 million, but I'd be shocked if it sold
Mm.
1.5 million type of game. Like Miitopia sold over 1 million copies. So I'm anything is possible, but I just don't. I don't know. I mean, I guess families will buy it and like they'll buy it and they'll probably, but like, I mean, if people that bought One Two Switch, I don't see people that bought One Two Switch running back to the stores to buy the sequel to One Two Switch. What about you,
No,
Gables?
absolutely not. I mean, for God's sakes, they're not going to run to the store to buy a sequel to One Two Switch. If anything, the way Nintendo's going to get any type of recoup for this is if they put it in the expansion pass. Because for if it's as horrible as what's being described, especially what Emron Khan is going through and covering, people are gonna look at this once Nintendo reveals it, and they're gonna mock the shit out of this thing. I mean, come on, they're gonna
Mm,
just coin the term "Hey, horse shit" on Twitter or wherever the fuck, and it's
yeah.
going to snowball into an effect and stuff to where Nintendo is not gonna be able to make any type of freaking profit from this game. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, we've already heard rumors that this game was like in development before this thing was substantially going
Yeah.
through in this, and they were making a point. It's like, yeah, this is something you don't want.
Yeah. Um, when Imran Khan originally broke the story on Twitter, he put this like it's one of the worst kept secrets in Nintendo. Uh, like this game has been talked about for a year or two now. Like people have been suspecting this game. And this game was originally supposed to come out at the beginning of the year, but because it QA'd so bad, um, it's just they don't know what to do with it. Um, yeah. So I mean, it sounds like the game is mostly done. They just can't figure out how to fix it. But Gables, we need to move on. We're going a little long here, so we are going to move on to some of the other
Okay.
news for this week. We'll do MPDs next week. Um, so I want to just talk about this real fast. So the Blue Box, people don't remember Blue Box games. They were the people that like. There's that game called Abandon that was like part of the
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation blog like a
Yeah.
year and a half ago, about a year ago, and then they like, hey, we're gonna have a playable demo on the PSN store. Just download our app on PS on PlayStation, and you can play the art. Like I can't remember if it was I think the first time it was a trailer, and you can see the game for the first time. And they did this whole huge countdown on like YouTube and on PlayStation and all that stuff to watch the trailer. And the countdown came out, and it literally led to them with the video of them saying, "Hey, sorry, we had to delay this. It's not quite ready yet." And then they announced the next countdown, and then it's like this time you're able to be a demo to play, and they did a countdown again, and it was literally them just saying, "Hey, sorry, it's not ready yet." And then they just kind of went silent for a long time, and we did a whole like we spent a good long chunk like our second most downloaded podcast, audio wise, has been the episode I called Blue Balls fans. Um, and so go back and listen to the episode, like the kind of hear like what happened in time. I don't want to go into the full fledged thing. Like GameSpot did a fantastic article on this. It's very long. I was gonna make it a big story on like our main topics for the show, but it's very in depth. Like we would spend a whole episode talking about it. It is batshit crazy. The head of Blue Box Games, like all the shit. Basically, it's come to find out that he's a fraud. Um, he doesn't he has a history of bullshit like this of just like selling a bunch of bullshit that he can't make, or like just he's really good at like selling shit but he doesn't have the goods for it. Um and like he like totally would change the story about what this game is. Like first it was a Silent Hill like game, then it's a game with vampires, then it's a game about an AI that takes over. He like created a Discord groups of like people like that were fans of his, that only they were invited to, and he'd like he would like tell information, like show them screenshots of the game. But like as soon as they like started like, hey, like they would challenge him a little bit on his like on what he's saying, or like he would constantly like contradict himself, he would like freak out on them and then kick him out of the group, or like totally destroy that group and start a brand new group. It's fucking wild. It is a very long article, but it is well worth the read.
Wow,
Check it the
dude.
fuck out. Um, it is crazy. It gets crazier at every paragraph. Next up, at the very same time that Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 was getting announced, Dragon's Dogma 2 was announced to be in development. This is from the Capcom leak though, like a year and a half ago. So like it's like the Nvidia leak and the Capcom leak are just every year or every few months one thing out of that thing comes true. Um, it was pretty funny. I watched it. It was like a 13-minute video of just like the three main guys from the first game, like in around like a table talking about how big and how important that game was, and then the last 30 seconds of them unzipping a hoodie to show a T-shirt that says
Dogma.
Dragon's Dogma 2. So that's in development now. Everybody knew it was coming though. It's been leaked forever. Um, I don't know. I actually did. It's on sale on like everywhere for like 475. Um, so I actually did buy it. It was originally like a 360 PS3 game. I did buy it though on PS5, so it was like 475. So I picked it up. So I'll give it a shot because people have been. It's got a pretty big. I remember like it came out and there's actually a pretty big audience behind
Yes,
it.
people rave
Not a
about
huge
it.
one, but
Yes.
yeah, it's definitely one of those like cult classic type games. Um, I picked it up. It was like 475. So fuck it. I said pick it up. But I don't know. Gables, did you ever play
I've
that
only
game?
played the demo of that, and that was way back when it was first being touted for like 360 and PS3 release. I thought it was okay and stuff, but I never really got fully into it as I was distracted by other games at the time, like usual. But at that point, I've been interested in trying to go forth and try to play it. It's awfully tempting now that it's less than $5, and you can also just go through and secure it, unless you own a Switch only
Yeah.
and stuff, and it's like $10. So hey,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So that's coming soon. Or I'm sorry, not coming soon, but I don't know how long that deal's going on for. So if you're interested, it's been going on for about a little over a week now. So might be running out of time on that one. So maybe you want to jump on that. Probably usually it's big. I think the sales change on
yep,
Tuesdays. So maybe you want to jump in on that. Um, could this happened a couple weeks ago, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But Kojima's next game possibly leaked. It's called Overdose. Apparently, the uh, Mama, who is one of the women, I can't remember the name of the actress from Death Stranding. Apparently, she is like the main role in this game. It sounds like Kojima is using a lot of the actors and actresses he used from Death Stranding to this for this
okay,
game. It's apparently a horror game. Knowing there's been some debate back and forth whether this is the Xbox game he's working on because he's working on two projects he announced. One's a smaller game and one's like a revolutionary game. So no idea if this is like the Xbox one or if this is the smaller game. Um, but this there's been some I don't know if it's so much rumor, but a lot of reporting that possibly the game that what's the actor's name from Death
Reedus,
Stranding one? I always
Norman
forget his
Reedus.
name. Yeah, Norman Reedus. Yeah, I don't know, Norman Reedus and the fetus. I don't know why I always forget that. But he mentioned a couple weeks ago that he's making Death Stranding 2. But a lot of reports that possibly this is the game he's talking about. We hear about this all the time when like voice actors and stuff like that, or people do motion capture for games, even like bigger, even like the main stars don't realize what game they're
Yeah.
working on, and for a long time. So it wouldn't be shocking to find out, he's making um, this game and not. He's probably assumes, oh, I'm working with Kojima, so I must be making the sequel to the game that I did with him already. When in fact, this could just be the game he's working on. Um, Next up, Gables. I'm going to use the restroom real fast. But Gables, Persona 5 has been confirmed coming to PlayStation. The Persona 5 well, 3 and 4 are coming to are coming to PlayStation and PC. No word on Switch yet, but I mean, what's your opinions on that? I'll be
All
right back.
right. So initially, when the Xbox conference went on and stuff, and I saw the unveiling for Persona 5 Royal, Persona 3 Portable, and also Persona 4 Golden coming on to Xbox Game Pass and also like simultaneously released on there, I was excited because, like I've stated before, I love seeing the Persona games on as many consoles as possible. And it was until like about a few days after and stuff that we learned a clarification to where, yes, these versions are coming onto Steam and also coming onto PlayStation 5. Of course, Persona 4 Golden is already on Steam in that regards, but yeah, I'm fairly happy in regards to that making onto PC and also on the PlayStation platforms as like Persona 3 Portable. Rumors have it to where it may be like a almost like a remaster and stuff of that PSP game, which I'm all for, as long as they insert like some of the best stuff that was from like the previous Persona 3 versions, with explorable environments and this and that. But I am very excited to see Persona 5 Royal make it onto piece like the Steam at last in that regards, because there are a lot of great games inside of that series and stuff to where I feel like people who own a PC only that don't want to invest inside like a PlayStation or an Xbox console or whatever the heck, you're going to get yourself full on some of the best JRPGs that have been made in the past 10 years plus. But
Yeah,
in regards to say the Switch and stuff like that, I'm kind of, what understanding why I am understanding of why maybe they may like Atlas may not port them to the Switch, even though I don't understand like why not have it to where they have a couple of different types of like oh god, what's that one fighting game I'm thinking about? Okay, Persona 4 Ultimax. You have
oh yeah,
that.
that's one that just got ported
Yeah,
this
it's
year,
getting
didn't it?
ported to the Switch and stuff like that. But one thing to keep in mind and stuff like that, there could be a Switch version of it, but due to possibly NDAs or whatsoever, probably not going to hear much about the Switch version probably until they go forth and maybe announce it or something at their direct. I mean, that's a possibility that may happen. Not saying that it will, but yet it has
Yeah.
been a thing in the past where Nintendo has had companies sign off and stuff, like third-party companies say, "Hey, don't announce that we have a Switch version in development up until like a such and such date," or leave it to them to go forth and reveal it and stuff like that. Because in the past, there have been third-party companies that have had initial ports going through and coming on the Switch, but they're having to come out later on because there are other technical things they got to work out in that version, or there's things that are taking longer than anticipated. God, I'm thinking about like ports of Witcher 3 come to mind. I mean, I'm thinking about there's other ports obviously, like say BioShock and
Well,
like Burnout.
we know a lot of we know a lot of companies do that too, where like they know the game, they can double dip on the Switch, so like they'll put it out on other platforms first, and then wait 6 months
Yep.
to a year, and then they put it out on the Switch because people will just buy it again on the
Well, yeah,
Switch. So
exactly the point.
wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. But it's also like this thing's coming to Game Pass, so if you got an Xbox console, like you got a chance to play it on Game Pass. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I think it's like the console that makes the most sense. That it's made the most sense forever has been the
Absolutely,
Switch.
it has been.
So it's just like Atlas is like I think Atlas is like I know they're not like a big they're a subset of Sega, but they are possibly just as bad as Square Enix at
Yep.
business, where it's like they make great games, but they don't understand like people like the part where like, hey, we want to play your games, and if you're not contractually obligated to only put this on PlayStation, like, and it's weird because like there's like the Persona games that came to 3DS. There's
Yep.
the Persona Warriors game
Strikers.
that came to
Yeah,
everything.
Strikers.
Yeah, Strikers
Mm-hmm.
last year. It came to literally everything last year, day one. It's like cool. Joker's on has been on was the first DLC character announced for Smash
Absolutely, it
Brothers
was.
3 years ago. Wait, no, 40 years ago. Over 4 years
And the
ago.
game
Four
he
and a half
stars
years
in
ago.
isn't on the Switch.
Yeah, yeah. So it's wild. So I think you're right. That was kind of my theory was like maybe they're saving this if that direct is happening, like hey, it's coming to Switch, and maybe it's coming to day one, or maybe they want to put like a box out and sell it for like 30-40 bucks. People will buy it because like but I mean, I know Steam Deck is it's big in our bubble, but it's not big everywhere else. So
No, not
but
a lot of
I
people are
think
going to
if
go forth and get the Steam Deck and stuff because it's not like as widely available and known by the general public. Only the most hardcore of
yeah,
the hardcore know what the Steam Deck is, and on top of that, have the means to go forth and actually acquire one. And for those
yeah,
gamers that have a Steam Deck, I mean, obviously, congrats to you. You got yourself an interesting system in that regards. But at the same point, you're looking forward to playing these Persona games handheld. That's awesome. I wish that we had that for the Switch currently, but I'm still remaining hope that, hey, this is probably going to be something revealed in their next direct. I mean, I'm not dismissing it at all.
yeah, yeah. But my point with Steam Deck though is like I wouldn't be shocked at, like we're in the early days of that thing. They still are like the people that pre-ordered it are still waiting on
Oh
their
God.
versions. So they haven't paid for it yet, but I mean, like they knew that at the time. So there's people that are still waiting. But um, I won't be shocked in a couple of years if like that Steam Deck is. I'm not gonna say as big as Nintendo Switch, but like it's a it's a it's a competitor of the Switch. Like it's a real
Yeah,
competitor of
because it
it. So
satisfies
and it
something, Tyler, that a lot of like mainstream gamers and stuff have been kind of wanting in regards to having not only your PC games on the go, but not without having like a major computer, but at the same time you get access to all these games you can download onto your device that you've gotten through Steam
yeah,
without so much the
it's open
hassle. It's
source.
open source. You could put ROMs on it.
You can play
You
Game
could play
Pass on
Game
it.
Pass on it. You could do whatever. It's
Yeah,
customizable.
yeah, and Nintendo is slowly raising the price of the
Mm-hmm.
Switch, and I believe the cheapest version of the Steam Deck is like
Mm.
470. So I mean, if you're somebody that like, if it gets to the point where both of these things are in the open market and it's like and they're easily more easily acquirable, it's like, well, do I buy the thing that I can only play Nintendo games on, or do I buy the thing that I can play all my games on and have like play Game Pass on, play Steam on, play Epic Games on, play any whatever. So, um, that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, like it's a it's a growing conversation. Like it's not a crazy conversation to have. I don't think. Uh, it's coming less and less crazy every day. Next up though, new Assassin's Creed game apparently is going to be announced in September. They had like a whole like event um, this past week for Assassin's Creed because it was the
I forgot
anniversary,
about that.
the 15th anniversary. Yeah, me too. I'm a well, I didn't forget about it. I just didn't care. They announced some more stuff coming for
Yeah.
Valhalla, but the whole the big thing at the end of it was that they're going to announce the next Assassin's Creed game in September. No idea what that is. Maybe it's that there's that
Announcement for an
Assassin's
announcement.
Creed. Yeah, everybody's favorite conferences, showcases, whatever. Um, there was that rumor. I can't remember what it's called. Assassin's Creed Infinite, I think it was what it was. There's like the live service Assassin's Creed game. Nobody knows what the fuck the thing it means or what it is, but like, is it that? Is it the like? It's been 2 years since Valhalla came out. Like, are they gonna announce the next one of those? Because it's pretty crazy. Like, this is the longest gap we have gone between
Yes, we
Assassin's Creed
have.
games. Like, they took a year off for
In between
between
Origins and
Origins.
Odyssey.
Yeah, no. Odyssey came out the year after. The game with you played as a brother or sister. For some
Syndicate.
reason, I beat the game. Syndicate. It's been 9 years,
Syndicate.
Gables, and I don't know
Okay.
why you you I beat the game. You never played the game, but you know the name of the title, and I never can remember the name. So and it still blows my mind every time it happens. Um, but it's been like I think 7 or 8 years since that game came out, and I just my mind has like erased that game from my memory. Um, even though I like the game. But anyways, so they took a year off for that. So we went 2 years between games. But now we're about to 2 years between Valhalla and that was the last game to come out. This winter will be 2 years because it was a console launch game for Xbox. Um, we're not getting one this year. So I mean, maybe it's a smaller game. Like they had those Assassin's Creed like 2D side scrollers. Maybe it's the Infinite game. I don't know, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know. And I heard the Dawn of Ragnarok DLC they put out earlier this year was not great. So I think maybe they're at the end of the rope for that thing. But moving on, Stalker 2, which is a big game that's been pushed by Xboxes. It's been it wasn't at this past Summer Game Fest, but it was at the last two summers
Mm.
Xbox events. It's like it's kind of like it gives me like Metro vibes. Like it's takes place in Russia or the Ukraine. And it's like a post-nuclear stuff going on. So this company is based out of Ukraine. This game was originally supposed to come out in April, but in January they actually delayed it to December 8th of this
Right.
year. And then a few months later, obviously everything going on with Russia and Ukraine that blew up. So that was like gaming wise, the first thing to come out of that was like, okay, well, Advance Wars got delayed. We don't know what's happening. And then to stick with the game side of things, obviously there's like the stuff with Goldeneye, like one that a lot of that takes place with like Russia being the bad guy in the game. And then this Stalker 2 is like, okay, well that game months before all this stuff happened got delayed from April 19th, I think, to
Yep.
December 8th. Um, so like, okay, that game pretty decent chance it's not coming this year. You already pushed it 8 months out. But now it's like, yeah, everything going on immediately is okay. That game's not happening this year, so that's gonna be a Game Pass Day One game. That game looks pretty good. I don't know too much about Stalker One, but like the gameplay we've seen in Stalker Two looks fantastic. I'm excited for the game. Obviously, more important things to worry about, like keeping you and your team safe. So obviously, they take all the time they need on that. And hopefully everything is okay for them. Like we've seen the same thing with Replaced. Jeff Keighley talked about them at the Summer Game Fest. They announced that their game was supposed to come out this year, so be also a Game Pass game. It was revealed last E3, and that got delayed because they're based out of Ukraine as well. So a lot of serious shit going on over there,
Mm-hmm.
Gables. But Gables, sticking with nuclear holocaust for 1,000. Fallout 5 is coming, Gables, after Elder Scrolls 6. I bit my own tongue. Um, Ow, that hurt. But yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 is coming first. So Todd Howard mentioned, and they did the extended showcasing they've been doing the last couple of years now, which they're pretty decent. I'll scrub through them to find some interesting stuff to hear about. Um, this is
I
fantastic.
know, right?
I love this. It's so stupid. Okay, so the game they're working on now, they just literally showed gameplay for on Sunday for the very first
Yep.
time. That just got delayed to next year. It's not out for another year, 9 months give
Yep.
or take. They're making that. Then when they're done with that, presumably they got. I mean, obviously it's not gonna be a full team, but they're gonna do a lot of updates, probably do some expansion stuff like that for that game for a little bit. Then they're gonna make Elder Scrolls 6, which they announced 4 years ago.
Yep.
So let's assume best case 26, 27 for that game. Then we get Fallout 5. We talked about this earlier this year when the New Vegas 2 stuff started happening with like Obsidian might make it, but Obsidian is making Grounded,
Yeah.
Pentium, uh, Avowed, and then they're making Outer Worlds 2, which is their own Fallout game. Um, so that doesn't seem likely
No.
because Avowed's probably a next year game. Of Outer Worlds 2 is a end of this cycle game. So if they make a Fallout New Vegas, it might come up the same time that Fallout 5 comes out. Gables, I thought about this. When we see Fallout 5, we might be talking. That game finally hits and comes out. We'll be in well into the thousands of episodes for this fucking podcast if we're still going by then. We'll be in our 40s,
We
Gables.
will be close
Our
to our mid
40s.
40s at this point.
We're
Hopefully.
talking about not. We are not talking about like an early next gen game. We're talking 2 generations from now, and we're at the beginning of this generation. We are 2 generations away from this game. Fucking
Yeah,
stop.
yeah, exactly. We don't need
Like,
to know that far in advance.
yeah, it's like cool. Like, I understand you announce games early because you want people to come work for you because we're working on these side franchises. But like, people are like, cool. If I go work for Bethesda now, in 5 years I can start working on Fallout 5. Fucking stop it.
Unless you have
I
something to
understand it.
just go through and just spike through that development and do this and that, I mean, there's really no point in saying what project you're working on after Starfield, because people already know that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be the one you're going to be working on, and fucking just saying that, hey, okay, Fallout 5 is going to be after that, and then it's like, at that point, it's like, why would we care right now?
Yeah. So yeah, like it just blows my mind. Just stop. I don't like put out good quality
Mm-hmm.
games first. Get back our love for you that you had for not even for me. Like I'm not a huge like I enjoy the games, but I don't love those games. But like get back the fan base that you love that you kind of threw off after 76 and stuff like that. And then we'll people get excited for a game that's coming out. Um, there's a decent chance we may not be alive for Gables. But moving
That's true.
on, there's apparently a PS5 Elite controller. I don't know what else to call it. But we have the Xbox Elite controllers that have been around for a
Yes.
while now. It's been kind of shocking that PlayStation's never done it. Apparently, they are ready to announce fairly soon that they are working on their own version of a Elite controller. They're gonna have like you can move the analog sticks around. They're gonna have the little back things like they've done it. Like PS4 a few years ago. They released those the little attachment for like $30. You can put on it. You can like customize. You can like and map buttons for in the back. Like the Elite does. I mean, we've had the Scuff controllers have been around for a long time. I've looked at some of those. Like they are basically like uh, the like a slightly cheaper version of like the Xbox Elite, like a third party company that makes really good, durable controllers that are much like the Xbox Elite. They've been around longer than the Elite has though, but they just put out PS5 ones earlier this
Mm.
year. Like 3 different versions. But I was looking at like it's so weird how they do it. Like there's like 3 different tiers of them, but like they don't like you would think the top tier would do all the things the other 2 tiers would do, but they don't. It's fucking weird. But they're not as expensive as like I think like the Elite 2 was like
Yep.
$150. Um but yeah, though. So apparently they're gonna announce them soon. I already own 2 PS5 controllers, but oddly enough, the R2 button on my launch controller broke already about a week or two ago. So now I'm using my secondary controller. Uh, so I want to send it to get fixed,
Okay,
but
broke.
It's on.
Broke, you say?
Yeah, like yeah, I could probably. I know I could probably fix it. I looked up like some videos. Looks easy. I need to look at it.
So is it like a little
Yeah.
spring inside the thing, or?
Yeah, so sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't like register when I hit the R2
Oh,
button.
I see.
Sometimes it just sticks. So, but I'm assuming it's probably the spring. I looked it up. I guess it's fairly easy to fix, but I don't know. But I am not in the market. Like, if I'm gonna, um, I don't know. I'm just not interested in paying a shit ton of money for a controller. Like, they're already $70
Yep.
right now. Um, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need. I'm not gonna pay the what I could, 150 plus dollars for actual. I understand if you like those and you're into that market, good for you. Gables, I know you have the Elite 2 and you love yours.
Absolutely, and that's been the
Um,
best controller I've ever gotten for the Xbox because that thing has lasted now over 2 years.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Like I know there's a big market for those things. They seem to do really well, but no, thank you. That's a lot of money for a controller. So I don't know. But
Just,
next up, Gables here. Oh, go
well,
ahead.
I'm just gonna say before we move on and stuff, it's like as long as the quality is there and as long as the materials don't break within the first couple of months of owning it, I don't care. If it's
Yeah,
good, I'll buy it just for the fact that a concrete controller that I can use for my PS5 without having too much issues and then inner switch whatever type of buttons, you know.
yeah. If I'm gonna buy a new controller, I'm gonna buy that pink one because that's sexy as fuck.
Get the purple one.
Um, no, I like the pink one. I kind of want the pink plates too. It's cute. You know me, Gables. I told you I'm a big pink on black fan. You know me, like my love for the Bret Hart
There you go.
colors. Um, moving on though, Pokemon Snap is coming to the expansion pack. It's coming on the 24th, I believe, which is next
Yeah.
Friday. This is the last of the games when they initially announced the expansion pack and what's coming for the
Yeah,
64. This is the very last game that's on that list.
exactly. This is the last game that they showcased when they first revealed that N64 was coming on to the online service. And well, honestly, it's not surprising to see it finally announced, but interesting enough, the timing correlates before their initial direct thing comes out, though. So it's like, it's interesting though, because Pokemon Snap, the original one for the 64, it's a highly fun game. It's not going to take you too long to go
Mm-hmm.
forth and beat it, but yet it's highly enjoyable.
It's way better than the new Pokemon Snap game.
In some aspects, yes, I do agree.
No, it's in every
I
aspect,
don't think
Gables,
so.
other than graphics. No, that game is not good. I did not like new
Oh,
Pokemon Snap.
yeah,
I
I
love the original
understand. I
Pokemon Snap.
understand.
Yeah, that game was trash.
But yet, when it comes to like the original version of Pokemon Snap and stuff, this one definitely has some bit of nostalgia for me because I remember playing it back in the day, getting it and stuff, and then just having a ball going through and taking pictures and finding out the secret Pokemon and getting the secret artifacts and stuff like that. You take pictures of that, you get a chance to photograph Mew and stuff, going to that different islands and this and that. It was a fun experience, and it's definitely going to be an interesting thing to try to go forth again, especially if you screw up on a shot and then you just rewind it and
Mm.
stuff and do that shit. That's just sounds so funny to me.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I cut off a lot of time. Yeah, that's a good point. Um, my one of my I've told the story before, but one of my favorite gaming memories, and it's not even my own, growing up was I remember like my dad. He does construction work. Like he drives, like he hauls like sand and concrete and stuff like that his entire life. And it was a snow day. I remember coming home from school one day, and it was shortly after the game came out, and we rented it from Hollywood Video. And coming home, and him and his buddy at the time, like whenever it was a snow day, because they worked at the same place, he'd always come over and they just play. Like this is kind of where a lot of my gaming came from. Was like my dad was a huge gamer. That we had a I remember we had a Sega Saturn at, when it first came out. We had PlayStation. I remember like sitting there when we growing up watching him, staying up way too late, way too young when I was like 4 or 5 years old, watching them play D on PlayStation way back when, which just got ported to the PC by the way. Which is like I'm like, God damn, do I want
Of
do I
all the
want to play that
games,
game? I don't know.
D. Oh.
Yeah, I remember just being really young and like Resident Evil and stuff like that, Rayman, all that. But anyways, going back to 64 here, my favorite gaming memories is I used to take the bus home, um, from school and going. I remember coming home. It dropped me off like a block away from my house, walking in the front door, and my dad and his best friend at the time on the couch, sitting there playing Pokemon Snap on in 64. One of my favorite memories. So I love that game. I have a lot of fondness for that game. And that'll forever be like that moment. Is one of those moments that's just burned into my brain that I'll never forget. Um, but last but not least, Gables, for on a depressing note here, Activision investigated themselves on all the shit that happened last year with the sexual harassment, the rape allegations, the boys club allegations, all the sexual misconduct allegations. So they hired somebody to invest. They hired somebody to investigate themselves, and they found out that Gables, they've been a good boy, and it's not they weren't wrong. The media was wrong.
Uh-huh.
The media sensationalized it. It was the media's fault that this became a story, not the fact they did it and they're guilty of all those things. It's because the media reported on it. That's the problem. And that all coincides with the fact that Bobby Kotick, who took a gigantic pay cut down to like I think it's like $60,000 this past year, even though he's made like $200 million for like the last like a decade now. He's made billions of dollars working for Activision. The board is going to vote next week, and they're going to use the stuff that came out of this investigation to decide whether or not to give him back his original pay, and also Gables on top of that a $22 million bonus.
You can't make this shit up, dude. It's really ridiculous when it comes down to this stuff. So they've essentially investigated themselves, saw that they weren't investigating for all this wrongdoing and stuff, and may actually bring back Bobby Kotick and actually give him a raise. That's
Yeah.
God, that's just borderline, just hysterical in that retrospect.
Yeah.
No accountability. I really hope that Microsoft just goes forward and just fucking guts that damn company after that. I'm dead serious, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I'm very glad here that Microsoft did go through and buy and acquire Activision Blizzard, and I know after a specific extent they're going to go forth and like, that deal's going to be finalized and stuff, and then, you know what? I don't care what happens with a lot of their higher ups in terms of Activision Blizzard or some shit and stuff, but there has to be accountability for something. There has to be some form of closure in some retrospect. But if it's not now, then it could potentially be maybe next year. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, everything coming out of that is, it sounds like once the deal goes through, which it could take up to another
Yeah.
year, but probably be early next year with Microsoft. But it's pretty much all that's been said, that once that deal goes through, shortly after, he'll be gone. I don't know. It's depressing, but it's like at this point, like,
It can't come soon enough.
I mean, this is the guy that laid off a bunch of people 2 years ago during a pandemic, so he would get to keep the stock price high, so he would get another $20 million bonus when this guy's, like I said, already made billions over. You want to know what the problem with this country is? Look no further than this. That's I'll leave it at that. But Gables, we need to move on because we've been going very long,
Right.
and we haven't got to what we've been playing. I'm gonna kind of I've been playing a bunch of stuff here, but a lot of it's older stuff. I don't want to spend too much on it. I've been on vacation this week. Not a lot to do. It's been hot as fuck. So I've been stuck inside. I played through. I beat beat Hellblade. Sitting was Sacrifice on Xbox. I beat that game originally when it came out in 2017. It was one of my top 5 games that year. It's fantastic. Beat it again. Still fantastic. I've been wanting to replay it forever. And I'm just like, well, I'm home. There's not a lot going on. So I'll play that. I'm like 2/3 of the way through Gears 4. Started just on a whim. I was like, I beat Hellblade. I'm like, man, I don't got a lot to do here. So I just kind of went through the entirety of Game Pass library. I downloaded a bunch of games. I downloaded like Ori, which I always want to give. I played back then. When it first came out, I enjoyed it, but like it's kind of fell off. But I like replaying Gears 4. Love that game. One of my top 5 favorite games from 2016 of all things, actually. So I'm replaying that one, enjoying that one. Picked up after the Thursday's announcement of Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I started playing Final Fantasy 7 Remake on PS5. I absolutely adore that game. I'm on chapter 6. I'm like 6 hours in. Yeah, that game's fantastic. Next up, though, I did beat 2 games, brand new games that came out. The Quarry and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I'll start off with the Quarry. People don't know about the game. Supermassive Games. They made like Until Dawn. That's like a big thing. They're doing the Dark Pictures anthology games. I've talked about a lot over the course of the last few years. Until Dawn, fantastic game. One of my, I think it was like number 3 game of 2014 when it came out. It just came out of nowhere. The game came out. Everybody thought it was gonna be trash because it was supposed to be a move game, and then the move sucked, and then they kind of turned it into a different thing. And it was actually fantastic and awesome. Then they have this deal going on with Bandai Namco, I believe, to do the Dark Picture anthology games, and little hope with the second game was like a 7 out of 10. Man of Medan was like a 6 out of 10. Like still enjoyable if you're a fan of those games, but like not great games. And then I thought House of Ashes, which I think was number 10 on my games of the year list last year, was like I think I was like a solid 8 out of 10. A much better version of that game, and I beat the Quarry. It took me a decent try. I was only trying to play it at night, um, and so it took me like probably 5 or 6 sittings to do because I started like 8:30, and then every night I even did Gables Thursday night. I'm like I'm gonna beat this fucking thing. I'm like there's 10 chapters. I'm like on chapter 5 or 6. I'm just gonna poop sock the rest of this game. I drank a Monster about 7:30. I'm like I'm gonna stay up and play this game. 10 o'clock rolled around. I'm sitting there like one eye open playing this fucking game. Like, what the fuck is wrong with me, Gables? I can't stay up late anymore. So, anyways, I ended up beating it Thursday night. I literally played this game every night for like 5 straight nights and beat this game. It's not a very long game either. It's like an 8-hour game maybe. But I still really enjoyed it. There's a lot of problems with it. So the crux of the game is that you play as a bunch of different camp counselors. I think there's 8 playable characters, and obviously based off decisions you make or if you fail certain circumstances, characters can die in the game. I lost 3
Oh
characters,
wow.
Gables. I'm pretty pissed about it. Pretty pissed about it. 2 of them died. Like one died based off of all 3 of them died. I had 50-50 chance of them. If I made this decision, they would have lived. If I would have made this decision, they died. And I made the wrong decision on these 3 examples, and they fucking died. And I'm really pissed about it because one of them was a favorite character in the game, Caitlyn. Um, but she was awesome. There were some characters like the main character that they really pushed, Justice Smith, who was like they always use like semi-famous actors, like you would know the faces from places. Like Justice Smith, he's big. I think he's like on big, like he was bigger on like he's like a teen star, like from like a Nickelodeon show, I believe. He was the main character from Detective Pikachu.
Right.
He's been on a couple other shows, movies as well. Um, but him and like David Arquette were like the 2 main stars. Like when they would like advertise the game, like these are the 2 guys I show. He was by far the worst part of the game. His character just sucked, and I don't even want to blame the writing. I want to blame the actor because it felt like he's like, you want me to do this game for you? Cool. I can do this between 3 and 6 tomorrow, and that's all I can do for you. It felt like he just no emotion. Everybody else in this game was really good. I liked it a lot. The acting was. I mean, it's a cheesy. They're going for cheesy slasher horror games. That's our horror movies, video game version. That's what they're going for. A lot of dumb decisions like why the fuck would you do this? What are you doing? Stop doing that kind of thing. And like who in the right mind would think this is a good idea? Like, they're going for that. But his character throughout the entire game just sucked. I did not enjoy his acting, and it sucked because he took up a good chunk of the playtime. And a big part of this, after like Until Dawn blew up as a single player game, but like the Twitch streams of it side, the game blew up because of Twitch streaming. And then like since then, all their games have added. They did like when PlayStation was doing like I think PlayStation Play or something. I can't remember what it's called, but they were like really pushing like you do like the mobile gaming
Yeah.
stuff. Like they tried to do the Jack in the Box stuff years ago, and they even made like That's You, I think is what it's called, like a bunch of cheaper or even free like Jackbox style games. They did like a Supermassive Games did like a small game that you can like play with like a bunch of people on your phone. You make decisions and you share it. Like basically just took the Twitch model but built it into their game. And they've done that since then with all their games where you can play online or couch co-op. And Easy Allies, I always love watching their playthroughs. They do like a PJ party where they all wear PJs, go to the studio and play through the games together. And they all like everybody gets one person. And they've always done a good job in the past of like everybody and you like they make all the decisions for that character and all that. And they've always done a really good job of balancing all those characters, even in Until Dawn. This game though, like they did like I think they did a pretty bad job as far as balancing out like I can see like I haven't watched the Quarry one yet. I can't wait for them to put it on YouTube because I'm gonna watch it. But like there are characters that like Caitlyn, who's my favorite character in the game. You maybe got 15 minutes, and she survived all the way to the last chapter for me. Not a spoiler because they can die at any point in
Hmm.
time in these games. But she made it to the last chapter for me. But I played maybe combined 15 minutes of her. One character, and there's some storyline reasons why there's a big gap in there, but he made it all the way to chapter 9 for me. Um, I played as him twice in the game, once in chapter 1 and once in chapter 3, and then he died in chapter 9 for me. But I didn't play as him for the rest of the
Oh,
game.
wow.
Maybe 10 minutes of gameplay. Like they just like if you picked like a few of these characters, and some of these characters like you would play it like the last 3 chapters they just didn't show up. I know there's like 187 different endings for this stuff, but like it kind of like um I've heard some people like so it sometimes the way these games work out is like based off the ending you get is how enjoyable you get it, because like sometimes if a character dies or makes this decision, like there's just no like closure to that character or that ending you get, and like mine in this case worked out pretty well, but like I've definitely in the past had issues with like the way their games end because like well this character died, so like this whole like closure for this other character like with this character just got
Oh,
dropped, and
wow.
it's like well that's a big gap, you know, like and I understand it, like there's so many different things, so many different branches. They do like a really good job of like this isn't Telltale type games or other games where like you go A or B and then go on from there. Then you make A or B and you go on from there. But like eventually you like the decisions you make are very minor. But in these games, Supermassive games, they're pretty like it's almost like uh who's the Cyberpunk developer? CD
Yep.
Projekt Red. When they like you hear about their games, not to that scale obviously, but like I remember like playing Witcher 2 and I made a decision and I looked at and like I played this whole 20-hour part of this game. And I looked up what happened if you made this decision. And there's just a whole 20-hour gameplay part that I just didn't see because of that.
Wow.
Like it's not that big, but like that's kind of the same idea. There's just so many different branches that the problem is that nothing ever like kind of like comes back together sometimes. But I really enjoyed this game. I think it's a lot of fun. If you like, it's definitely not Until Dawn is still the peak of their games. Um, it's definitely at worst third best. Like House of Ashes and this are kind of fighting back and forth between like what's most enjoyable. But like if you are a fan of those type of games and you want more of it, yeah, this is like the other games are like $30, the House of Ashes ones. But this is a full fledged. I think it's 70 on next gen, 60 on last gen. Um, but I still had a great fucking time with this game. There's definitely like there's always some like weird like dumb story decisions I think, and like but like I still really enjoy this game. It's a total. It's just a fucking blast playing these games. I had a lot of fun with it. Moving on though, sorry I took a lot of time on that one. I beat TMNT Shredder's Revenge. I sat down and played this game. I just, like some reason I guess games on Game Pass don't come out until like I think like 9 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
my time. So I was like, I woke up at like 5:30. I'm like, I'm gonna play fucking. I assumed to be up at like midnight or something, and it just. Anyways, sat down and play it. It is so I can't. I don't know how to say DOMTEC. I don't know what I can't remember the name of the company, but they're the people that made the Streets of Rage 4
Oh, yeah.
game a couple years ago that we in 2020 I believe that you and I both
Yes.
loved. They made that game. They made this game as well. Um, you and I, Gables, both grew up huge
Mm-hmm.
Turtle fans. I love the beginning. Like you boot it up for the first time, and they do like a modern day, like they just like with like today's graphics of the original TV shows, opening like music intro, which is fantastic. Um, but yeah, like I sat down and played this game, and I just couldn't stop playing. I ended up beating it all in one sitting.
Nice.
It's not super long. It's maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. There is like an arcade mode if you want like the OG, like you want that challenge where like you get like 3 lives and you gotta like play through it all. There's 16 levels and like each level's about 5 minutes give or take. Um, but I like there's a story mode like you get like an overworld almost like Mario World, Super Mario World or something like that where there's an overworld and you can like go back and play
Oh,
levels. There's
okay.
challenges. Each level has 3 challenges. Like some are like don't get hit by 2 projectiles in a level, or go through the whole level without getting hit. Each level has secrets you can find. I ended up not even like on purpose. I wasn't even looking. I found all the secrets, and there's like some cool things in there, like where you can find like you find the Frog Boys, or you find these like obscure characters from like the TV
Oh
show or thing
yes,
from
the
the
punk
comics.
frogs.
Um, yeah, so there's some cool stuff in there. Like then on top of that, you have to find all of them, but also like a lot of them have like, hey, can you find all these VHS tapes for me? So like I ended up finding all the secrets. I didn't do all the challenges obviously, but um, yeah, this game was just a fucking blast. I played it on normal as well. I think I probably died on like each level. Like I, most levels I probably died on once. I beat the whole game. I didn't like every time you start a new level, you start off with 3 lives. So, but if you play the arcade mode, obviously you start with 3 lives. You gotta beat the whole game with 3 lives. But like in the story mode, there you can just every time you start a new level, you get 3 lives, and that's the way I played it. That's the way I want to play it. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. The combat is really good. As you progress, you unlock like new moves you can do. I played it all through as Leonardo, who was really good. Like he is like the most balanced. Like each character, there's 6 characters in the game, no 7 characters in the game, and they all have stats. And he's just like all the stats are 1 through 3. There's like speed, attack, range, and there's one other one I can't remember. And he's a 2 across the board, so I picked him for the first playthrough. I ended up beating it all in one sitting, like I said. It's not super long, but like but it's about average uh, for a beat 'em up game, and that's kind of what I want. I don't want a 6-hour version of this game, but I fucking adore this. The combat feels really good. It's like a very good what I want modern day beat 'em up game. Like we seen them with Street Fighter 4. I didn't think they can do it. They fucking did it. It was brilliant. It was fantastic. Please, full of God, Disney, hire them to make an X-Men game.
Oh, that's the dream, right? Get a good X-Men arcade game going through and going up.
Yeah. Man, this game is gonna be on my. This is like a surefire top 10 game of the year for
Hmm.
me. Um, and it probably top 5. This game is brilliant. Gables, have you
I
played
have
this one
not
yet?
played it yet. I
You son of a bitch.
No, man, I have not played the game yet. I have been wanting to play the game, obviously, and stuff. It just hasn't really aligned with it yet this week because everything's been busy. But yeah, you know what? The reviews have been going up. It's highly positive. You pretty much are kind of summing up the things like what I kind of felt like this game was going to be in that regard, and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as gaming from my end and stuff like that, I've been going through a whole bunch of different things on the Switches, like their little apps and stuff like that for the SNES and like the Genesis and stuff. Managed to play through the entirety of Musa, which that was a game on the Genesis app and stuff. It was a shump, a shoot 'em up and stuff by
Shoot 'em up.
a shoot 'em up and stuff like that, and it's highly good. A lot of the levels are hyper hyper interesting in regards to basically it's kind of like the same premise as like how the turtles and stuff like that, how lengthwise each stage is, but yet holy crap though, this game is definitely fun to play. The stages are very elaborate. You get all these different types of power-ups and stuff, but you can change different difficulties and stuff or do a little bit of save states here and there if you choose to, though. But it's presented with a great challenge, and I kind of like the aspect of going through from beginning to end and stuff. I took like about a couple of days to go through and beat it initially, but I really liked that at the end of the stage you get these major kind of like bosses and stuff, and you had to go through and just kind of take them out systematically and stuff. But yeah, when it comes to like some of the gameplay stuff, yeah, it's definitely fun. But just give me one moment here.
Yeah. All right, well, Gables walked away. I'm gonna talk more about TMNT. This game, man, I can't say enough good things about this game. Like I don't know, maybe like I don't know if there's younger viewers or stuff like that, but man, like if you are a fan of like Turtles at all, like this, it is pure. It is a great game to play, but like if you are a even if you missed out on that generation, um, it is just a pure fun game. It is the most. I put this on Twitter. It is the most fun game I played this year, and it's not fucking close.
Hmm.
Nothing has come within spitting distance. And Gables, god damn it, if you want to play with me online, please let me know. I'll let you be Leonardo. I don't give a fuck. I'll be fucking goddamn April O'Neil. It's 6-player online. I'll gladly play through this game
Yeah,
again
man,
with
no
you.
problem. No problem. Let's see. Other than that, though, there was another game I did play through, which honestly, this game is fantastic, right? This game is called Wild Guns. You have a version that's on the
Oh,
SNES app, but you also have the Wild Guns Reloaded that's on PS4. That's like $20 and stuff. That has some more added features to it. This game is fucking fantastic. This game's first player mode and stuff like that. You can go through initial stages and stuff. It's got different types of tiers and stuff of elaborations upon each level and stuff. It's not inherently long. I think it's like maybe about 30 minutes or so. You can, if you are good enough to go through on the normal difficulty and stuff and try to go through a lot of the stages. I played through it twice, one with the male character, the other one with the female character and stuff like that. And each of them have their own quirks in terms of what weapons they use and also how they can go through different things. The gameplay is fast. It's awesome in regards to a lot of the gunplay and like a lot of the boss designs and stuff like that. And I gotta admit, it's actually up there though for some of my favorite games that I've always wanted to try. I've always heard good things about, and this is definitely those kind of like a sort of like a pseudo sort of shoot 'em up style game and stuff, to where you go through multiple tiers in a level, you get to the main boss, beat the boss, and advance to the next level and stuff like that. I know I'm kind of explaining it a bit like a little bit more boring in some retrospects and stuff, but this is a highly fantastic game, which I would recommend people if you got that expansion online or just Nintendo Switch Online in general, give this game a shot, you know? Or even if you have other platforms and stuff like, say, PS4, Xbox One and stuff, track down Wild Guns Reloaded and stuff. That has even
I
more
think it's on.
features, you know, more characters, this and that, you know, including a
Yeah,
dog you could play as.
I believe it's on the new PS Plus as
Yes.
well.
Yes, it's definitely worth a shot because you're in for a seriously fun game. But other than that, though, a lot of my time this week, if I wasn't playing little bits of this and that, you know, I was inside my bed just trying to play like try to play a little bit of like the original Breath of Fire because just to
Mm.
screw around with it and stuff like that. I also downloaded a bit of Wild Guns and stuff from on PS5. Tried to play a little bit of that this week and stuff, but obviously I couldn't get far inside of both of those games to really hit home. But you know what? With my vacation stuff in full effect and stuff, I definitely have some time to try to delve into some games or to go forth and try to clear out some bit of backlog stuff that I do have and stuff. But yeah, you know, it's pretty much what I've been playing this week. But I'm looking forward to the next week or so, maybe the next 12 days, you know, and see what happens.
Mm. Very nice, Gables. Well, guys, it's a very long episode, but hey, it's a 5th episode, so I don't care. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Whether this is, like I said, your first episode or your 500th episode, appreciate it. Look down in the show notes there. You find all the Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all the places that we're at. You'll find us down there. So please click on all those things. Follow us, subscribe to us wherever you listen to, or whatever social channels you use. Please go check us out on those places. But I was host, I was Tyler.
And I've been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone, thank you very much for listening to another fun filled episode of the Drunk Nerds podcast.
And hey, Gables.
Yeah.
Enjoy gaming.
Enjoy your gaming, guys.
Bye, guys.
See ya.